Hello everyone, I'm Theo Eschart from Henry Stewart Events, and I'm delighted to welcome you to today's webinar sponsored by Vertesia. Supercharge your dam, the Agentic Playbook. During the session, please send through your questions at any point using the questions box, which you can open by clicking on the question mark at the top of your GoToWebinar window. Also, a reminder that a recording of this session will be sent to you tomorrow, so you can view it again at your own pace. And now it's my great pleasure to pass you over to Mary Kaplan, Director of Product Marketing at Vertesia. Thank you, and over to you.
Thanks, Theo, so much. We're super excited to be here and talking about supercharging your dam. If you've already heard the word agentic 7 times today and you're rolling your eyes, we get it. But we want to really show you actual live capabilities of AI and agentic workflows in your digital asset management system. Really quickly, like Thea said, I'm Mary Kaplan. I'm based outside of Austin, Texas. Um, Relatively new to Vertesia and relatively new to the dam environment, but I'm joined by my good colleague, Stefan, who is not at all new to the dam ecosystem. Stefan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hey everybody. This is going to be a super fun session today. We've been really preparing this, and we're sure this is going to be very insightful for many of you. Hey, my name is Stefan. I'm Senior Director of AI Solutions at Vertesia. I spent more than half of my life as a tech lead in the advertising industry as a business solutions lead. And I've been working for TBWA and Omnicom, architecting solutions for global advertising agencies and their clients. And we're really here today to show you Vertesia's low-code framework that allows you to create autonomous agents that can really help you to finally create some value that was proposed for so long for your dams. Right, Mary?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's good to point out that Vertesia, the leadership of Vertesia are all ex-Nuxio peeps. So lots of DAM experience and enterprise content management experience. We have really the credentials. We understand DAM and the pain, and how we can make it better, and how AI is really doing that. So, as I go through the agenda, we just wanted to have a quick poll and get an understanding of where everyone is at in terms of thinking about and or integrating AI into their digital asset management platform. So you'll see a quick poll, give us your thoughts, give us your feedback. Like Theo said, we're really excited to answer any questions, so keep them coming throughout the presentation. The presentation is going to look a little bit like this. We're going to go through the DAM dilemma. We're going to talk about the evolution of asset tagging and the gold standard of asset tagging, and is that enough? We'll look at the Vertesia approach, which combines advanced RAG, retrieval, augmented generation, and agentic workflows. Stefan will walk us through the ad culture alchemists, and you'll see some of the results of what that looks like in terms of how we are able to transcreate media per different audiences. So, Stefan, how's that poll going?
Right. Actually, so we're in for about a minute now, and we have 60% of the people have voted. Just a quick overview, maybe at this point. I think we have like a good quorum here. About 45% of people are actually doing labeling and tagging already. About 6% actually deploy workflows with their DAMs or other solutions, 16%. Not really using any AI on their DAMs, 39%. And then anything else 13. And we're going to make this public. I'm going to back to the poll list and close the poll. Yes, and we should be back on the screen.
Awesome. Well, let's jump in. I am going to start with my what I call my doom and gloom slide. Here in the States, we are already putting in every single, grocery store and supermarket Halloween decorations, which is crazy because it's the beginning of August, but reminds me of our graveyard. But we wanted to talk about the dam dilemma, which probably you guys all feel some of the pain every single day, right? The core problem with dams is that many of them have failed to live up to their hype, right? They were sold as a structured, inspiring alternative to a simple file server, but have often rarely delivered on that promise. Starting off with metadata, right? Metadata is a continual issue because getting users to manually input accurate metadata, that's a real challenge, especially if we're talking about the creatives, right? They don't have the time, they don't have the information to accurately input metadata. That leads to poorly tagged assets that are very difficult to find. And a lot of creatives see dams as an asset graveyard, right? An uninspiring repository of old work. It's not a tool for new ideas. And there's often a lot of turnover on creative teams. So this revolving door, it means the institutional knowledge and the context behind past campaigns are lost. Even though they might be in the dam, they're not providing, again, inspiration or context. And the damn librarian's burden, we understand the potential and the value of damn platforms, but it can be a struggle to justify the cost. It's a struggle to get adoption, company-wide adoption. So often, damn librarians are managing underutilized systems. So we've talked about metadata, and it's worth noting that there have been significant strides in metadata and tagging and capabilities. So we started with manual tagging, right? That was the original, only available method, entirely reliant on human effort, largely failed in part due to inconsistency and low compliance, right? Very high effort task. And then we worked in some trained machine learning, which certainly was an improvement on manual tagging, but it was also very expensive and pretty labor intensive, right? Companies who were needing to do trained machine learning had to invest heavily to train their own custom models to recognize their specific products. Now, LLM-based tagging, large language model-based tagging, that's kind of the new gold standard, right? So modern LLMs, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, they can analyze an image and generate pretty decent descriptive tags for that image. We're going to use a lot in the webinar today, the example of Ford Motor Company. So ChatGPT, you give it an image of a Ford Bronco advertisement, it'll do a pretty good job getting the make and the model and the color, the scene. And this is accessible, right? Any company can leverage these LLMs, and it's becoming, like we said, a pretty standard feature in many dams. But Stefan, tell us, is it enough, this new gold standard?
That's a really good question. I mean, it's almost a commodity these days, right? It is the new gold standard. Many dams support it. LLMs can do this way better than previously custom trained models that could do labeling and tagging. But is that really enough? Is that really giving you value, right? I mean, certain use cases for sure you can use that, or you can maybe find things better. But we at Vertesia believe that this is by far not enough to really find that intrinsic value that is within your dam. And we want to demonstrate to you today how that's going to work. So moving on at Vertesia, we do things a little bit differently, because one of the key components really is, in first place, we make sure that we have an advanced data pre-processing. So whatever you upload into the Vertesia environment, we make sure it's not just labeled and tagged, but we use additional methodologies to create extensive schemas around things. So we automatically identify components and elements, but also we embed things into RAG. And Mary mentioned this already. It's retrieval augmented generation. And then what that really means is it creates sort of an encoding of the meaning and the relationships between elements, but not just for words. LLMs are always thought to do this with words. We can do this also with pictures. And it basically creates an associative context. When you think about images, it will create, or it will find similarities based on the color, the scenery, the mood, the overall impression of an image. So it goes way deeper than just the standard labeling and tagging. And this is part of the of the recipe that we at Vertesia can bring to you to actually create these agentic workflows, which will be all based on a deeper understanding of what the content is, deeper than just tagging, going deeper into that. And then on top of that, the icing on the cake are the agentic workflows that we're deploying in order to create value.
Yeah, so let's take a look at that.
Yeah, so advanced data pre-processing is really the first step, as I mentioned, where we're taking not just uploading documents into a repository and then just indexing them. Every DAM these days will do full text indexing of PDF or any other document, so you can actually find things inside documents. It's not just the text and the labels, it's actually the actual document content. But as we said, with advanced data pre-processing, we're going deeper. For example, at Vertesia, we have a specific pretty sophisticated methodology for creating semantic chunking, which is not the regular chunking that you might have heard about, where documents are broken into pieces, into parts, paragraphs, so that LLMs can retrieve specific elements. But we are doing this semantically by different topics, for example. So we're doing a pre-analysis before we actually start indexing. We structure how we want to index the document. We're also creating specific embeddings. And then as part of the pre-processing output, we are able to actually use some more sophisticated search methodologies than just normal indexing would allow us to do.
Definitely.
Mary, I believe we have a case also for that we can show or talk about.
Yeah, we wanted to tell you guys how one of our customers is doing just that and the value that they are seeing. So our customer, they are a leader in global licensed retail apparel. So if you go to Walmart as an example and you see a t-shirt with Spider-Man on it, that's our customer. So you can only imagine what their how heavily reliant they were on their digital asset management system. They had about 2,000 daily asset ingestions into their DAM, which housed all of their product and their art information. And they were challenged. They had about a team of more than 10 individuals manually adding metadata to the art. As you can see, very time consuming, very expensive, and it was very error prone. They had a really hard time finding what they needed. That was due to the sanitization of their assets. There were a lot of duplicates. Art was missing metadata. So again, it was just really difficult to find what they needed and certainly to make any kind of iterations or reuse of their art and their products. So with Vertesia and the extensive DAM expertise that we offer, they were able to implement a generative AI solution to take this pre-processing of data and all of those elements that Stefan was talking about to really supercharge their DAM in terms of applied metadata and content embeddings. And what they found is increased findability, being able to reuse assets now, time to value, so actually getting higher sales and a quicker pipeline, and reduce cost, which is what they were looking to do. And so the solution for this customer is really important. And they're actually now looking, Stefan, to get into more of the agentic workflows, including the metadata generation, but now also looking further into how generative AI can really enhance their DAM.
Yeah, and that's really what we're about to show you guys in a while. But first, let's maybe set the scene a little bit, Mary, right? So what a creative output might look like in a campaign localization workflow. So how would we start with that?
So a lot of times when you are thinking about a campaign localization workflow, so thinking about, okay, back to that Ford Motor Company example, you had a campaign that performed really well for your client Ford, and you want to leverage all the good aspects of that campaign for additional campaigns. So what do you need to do first, right? Well, find the campaign that performed really well and all the assets associated. We talked a little bit about the evolution of metadata, we wanted to spend a minute talking about the evolution of search, because like metadata, we've seen amazing strides in search performance and relevancy. Traditional search, of course, focused primarily on keywords. It leveraged the metadata and the structure inside of your DAM to help individuals find the assets that they needed. Traditional search, of course, left a lot to be desired, because if you're relying on manual asset tagging, that could be wrong. And it lacked contextual understanding. So then we moved on to semantic search. And semantic search is a really powerful technology that uses AI to understand the meaning and the intent behind search queries, right? You can find results that not only match on a keyword, but that are conceptually similar to what you've searched for, what you're looking for. And then we had hybrid search, right? So hybrid search kind of merges the precision of keyword matching with the contextual intelligence of semantic search. So ensures that we're not only textually exact, but also conceptually relevant. So understanding what you mean, not just what you type. And beyond any kind of traditional search, we're looking at agentic search, right? So beyond traditional metadata, agentic search is autonomous, so not reliant on humans. It's goal-oriented and capable of making decisions and taking actions without constant human intervention. And Stefan's going to tell us a little bit about how that might look.
Well, the human factor is always important, and that's also the bottom line, Mary, of what we want to demonstrate to you. This is not about to replace people. This is to enhance people, to empower people, and to make your process way better and more quality control. But when we talk about agentic search, it's really, if you think about how people have been searching on Google for all of their lives, maybe 1-2 keywords, and then trying to bring that into a DAM, yes, you will find certain things, but you really want to go deeper into stuff to really find relevance, especially now where we have extended dimensions from the RAG semantic search capabilities. You want to be able to paraphrase really something, give it more like a briefing to a person. So what agentic search does, it's working with you. It's more like a dialogue. It will take in a keyword and it will then do an interpretation of that keyword, what that means, what the context might be. And it will ask you back something like, hey, are you searching in the context of a certain idea that you have? And it will take this as sort of an intake brief. The LLM will then have a number of tools available to it. It might have a connectivity to a DAM, to another finance database, maybe to another image repository or a video repository, or maybe it will search the internet. So what the LLM really helps to then precisely define a query with certain parameters that you don't have to know about. You don't need to speak SQL in order to do that. The LLM will do that for you. But here comes now the real kicker. It will not just simply give you or provide you search results that it will find. It will do a quality assurance of that and align how much these search results actually align with the original brief that you had in mind when you asked the questions, when you were talking to the LLM to find out what is it that you really want. So anything that is not part of the brief, that it doesn't match the brief, it's going to discard that, not even show that to you, but only things that make it through that match with the brief are going to be passed on. And the LLM can also show the reasoning behind it. Why did it show you certain things? Why did it bring up certain results? So agentic search is really the next iteration of this, and it's going to help you tremendously to really identify what you're really looking for, especially in huge databases and DAMs where it's just a proliferation of content.
Yeah, totally. Well, should we see it? Should we see it in action?
Go for it.
So I'm going to walk us through a brief demo of finding master campaign assets and then doing a pretty simple localization adaptation of that asset. So I'm going to stop sharing just the presentation and jump in and share my demo environment. So just let me know when you can see it. Give me 1 second. Okay. How does this look?
Yes, I can see this.
Awesome. Okay. So really quickly, this is Vertesia's UI for our dam. So if your dam looks wildly different than this, if you use a different solution, this will look different. Like this will look like your dam, and Vertesia will be embedded into your dam. So I just wanted to set the stage briefly. But first things first, I talked a lot about finding what I need, right? My client, Ford Motor Company, we want to leverage the past campaigns we've done and make new campaigns for coming up autumn season. So first I'm going to do with how do I find things, right? Semantic search, it's going to, again, pick up on what I mean in terms of like trucks in nature, trucks at the beach, and you can really filter that and get really hyper specific. But since I know that I want to iterate already, I'm going to start with choosing an image and then taking that image, manipulating it, and getting new results. And the image that I want to use is my Ford Bronco at Bryce Canyon National Park. So I've selected my image, and what I want to do is I want Vertesia to generate a prompt from this image, right? When it comes to using AI and generative AI, maybe you've heard a lot that prompt engineering, prompt techniques, and the prompts are really important, and that's true. So anytime that you can leverage AI to create the prompt for you, I wouldn't have created this prompt, right? It gives a ton of detail in terms of the photography style and what they're seeing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy and paste this prompt, and I'm going to ask Vertesia to manipulate it a little bit. So change this prompt to reflect Rocky Mountain National Park, Sky Pond in autumn, keep Ford F-150 2025 model. Copy and paste my prompt here. And it's going to generate, again, that prompt for me based on just a little bit of manipulations. So it looks pretty good. I'm going to then send it back to the model, and I'm going to hit generate. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the models. So I'm using Google's Imagine, another popular model, Amazon Nova. It's whatever model that you might use that's there on the market, you can use with Vertesia. So you're not locked into one model. If you're thinking, well, we only use Amazon Nova, great. If you want a variety of different models, because they are different, to get kind of that breadth, great. We can plug and play with all of the models on the market so that you get the benefit of that. So here's my beautiful image of my Ford F-150 in Sky Pond in Rocky Mountain National Park for autumn. And again, this is a really good starting point that I can leverage, and I can, save to my asset repository, and then I can iterate on it from there. And it's just a good starting point for thinking of this autumn campaign moving forward. Now, I wanted to show you a few things that Vertesia does when it comes to, we've talked a lot about metadata, so I wanted to show you the metadata, how it auto-generates metadata, and what you can do with that. So I'm just going to use another image that I generated this morning, very similar. I didn't put anything about autumn, though, in the prompt. And you can see all of the metadata properties that Vertesia has generated, right? We have our make and model, our colors down to the hex number. We have our location. And because we are an ad agency in this example, we wanted a lot of marketing and editorial specific metadata generated. So thinking about taglines, thinking about who this ad would play well with, what kind of audience, right? I can also jump in and I can find similar images, again, kind of that semantic based on those embeddings. If I wanted to pull up all of my similar images, and it's going to give me a score of 0 to 1 and how similar they are. And then
And
I
that's
can
really,
also,
Mary, where we
Mhm.
can the similarity, not only text-based, as we said previously, we can do this text-based or image-based, right? Or properties.
Yes. And last but not least, I can also chat with the document. I can chat with Vertesia. And, we all love chat. It's really easy to use. A simple example would be, would this be better in an ad campaign for spring or summer? Just as an example, right? But you can really query your dam and get a lot of more information about these images so that you can better reuse them in the future. Okay, so that was a really quick demo, just kind of scratching the surface. And I'm going to jump in and share my presentation again.
And that's already super powerful what you showed us there. It's so intuitive, easy to use, and already taking you so far into being able to not only find things but quickly modify just with the power of your imagination. Really, it's incredible.
Exactly. But as you know, Stefan, it doesn't always work out that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about a real life scenario, about a real workflow here of a real agency. So it's there's no direct path from taking a master campaign asset in a typically in English and then look translate that typically into another market, because we really need to think about cultural adaptation, about localization of the actual content. We talk about the transcreation here, and this is really when we want to introduce to you today an agentic ideation tool that we built very quickly. We're going to show you how all of that works. But really, what you have to take into account when you are bringing an adaptation of a master asset into another market, uh, in many cases, you might not even have any reference for the strategy brief or the creative brief that these assets have been based upon. You might have only a very limited understanding of the target culture and the target audience where this is supposed to go. Then there's, of course, things like the brand guidelines, legal compliance and regulations, intellectual property and usage rights. So there's so many components that you need to think of before you can actually greenlight something to be a final adaptation for a market. However, this is gonna a forth and back, and as previously you saw, there's no straight path. But we believe that with the example of agentic ideation, we can help people in the creative process, not to replace it, but to help people already check some of these boxes way before they even make it to the other parts in the agency where people have to have an eye on it. So it's sort of pre-checking certain things. So let's take a look at that. Agentic ideation, really moving forward
Oh,
to the next slide.
do you want me to move right here?
No problem. So we do this with an autonomous agent builder. And as we said, the teacher's low-code design environment, all I had to put in here is like a simple prompt, what I'm trying to build. And then our autonomous agent builder will create all the templates, all the schemas, all the metadata, not just like some simple system prompt and user prompt. It's going to generate the entire agent for us that will then do research on the internet. It will be using extensive tools which are available, like it can create documents, it can search the internet, it can go into databases, it can do all sorts of things. The autonomous agent builder will help you just from a simple idea, create that agent on the fly, and then show you all of the specifics and the details that you just go in then and change that according to your needs. So now we built that agent quickly, and the video showed you how quickly that really works. It's a little bit sped up. But moving on to the next slide, we're now going to see that agent in action when we built this aforementioned culture alchemist. We want to do a cultural translation of the Fort Bronco campaign that Mary so far has been working manually, already AI assisted, going into an image, doing a variation of it, taking an inspiration from an existing image. But we want to take this a step further, all the way to where it really turns into an agentic workflow, coming straight out of your dam. So What you're going to see here is like a time lapse of like 10 minutes or so, where the agent takes a number of images. It will reverse engineer the creative brief based on the images. It will infer an audience of that. It will research cultural insights of a target audience in the target market. It will then create a new localized brief based on the cultural differences and nuances between the original culture and the target culture. It will then create a new creative brief and ideate new creative executions, putting all of that into documents already, because Vertesia is really about transparency. We are really showing you all the outputs. Mary, please to the next slide. We are really showing you all the outputs of there's a picture missing. Thank you. We're showing you all of the outputs of all the different steps that I was just going through as the video was running, and really backing up everything for your ability to understand the reasoning behind this. So you're going to find the creative brief, you're going to find the culture trend analysis, you're going to find all the resources it found on the internet to do that. And all of that will be made available to you by the agent. And remember, in order to do this, I just typed in one prompt, and the agent really took it from there and created an entirely autonomous workflow, understanding what is our goal. So let's look at the outputs of what such a culture alchemist that we created within 10 minutes, what it did. So we want to come from a US-based campaign for Fort Bronco. And in the US, it's really this sort of adventure spirit in the outdoors, right? It's this sort of rugged, individualistic, adventure-focused. The audience for Fort Bronco is very specific in the US. So now let's see what happens when our agent starts transcreating this, culturally translating this, for example, to Sweden. So from the American point of view, we've taken this now and created this into the Swedish idea, or the agent came up with one idea of many ideas it came up with, the Swedish idea of work-life balance, from city streets to weekend retreats. Even that headline, I had no idea it would do that. It just created that based on the cultural insights that it mined and relating that to the original brief and the new brief it created. I think we have some more for Sweden. The Swedish idea of precision and the Swedish idea of simplicity in design. Swedish precision, American spirit, the thoughtfully capable. Another example is the Swedish idea of enjoying outdoor recreational activities throughout the year. There's a room for every adventure, the thoughtfully designed. And here the iterations throughout the different seasons in the year of how people in Sweden would be using their Ford Bronco to go for recreational activities. Sweden is one example. We did 4 more. The next one is Italy. So the aperitivo alpino, it's really the alpine aperitif. Excuse me. Sharing most special moments requires special places. It's about the vida, the French life, the Italian life, together with friends, taking your Ford Bronco from the city life out for a picnic. It's going into another iteration where it's the appreciation, the reinventage of heritage, where we respect traditional traditions and they meet the spirit of innovation. And this is really where it goes into a juxtaposition of classic craft, leatherwork with modern engineering, and really making these emotional connections that we do in advertising between the car and traditional values in the Italian culture. The next idea it came up with for Italy was really, and we gave it a media type. We said we want to create some ads for Instagram, for example, but it could be TikTok, it could be whatever, and it will automatically adjusted the outputs to that. So it gave us like an Instagram campaign visualization, a little bit more now into the fashion of the Milan world, maybe more than the traditional outdoor that it would do maybe for an American city. I think we have one more, which is Japan. We took this as another transition into a market that we found really interesting. And you might say, like, sure, Japan, that's easy. We replace the background to the beautiful cherry blossom trees, or the Mount Fuji in the background, something like that. Of course, that's a low-hanging fruit. But the ideation of the agent did a lot more. It actually went into the the sort of Zen-like love for the passion of the design of the masterpiece and craftsmanship of every single piece that they touch, and you see how they are sort of in this love for the detail, and how this has been transposed from the love for things that they do into applying that for the car. So every item is a work of art. It's a masterpiece of craftsmanship. Again, headline, subline, and images all created by our agent that has been doing a culture translation all by itself. Another example for Japan was like the contrast between the hectic city life and then taking that car and taking it outside into the very interesting um, um, outdoor sceneries with like a Japanese gate in the background. I found this one really interesting. I really like that one because it's really showing the contrast between the city life and then escaping out into the wilderness, the Japanese idea of adventure. I think we have one more.
This is it. Yep.
Yeah, and then again an overview. And just to remind you, the only thing we did, we selected 3 or 4 images from the dam after finding them with advanced search, selecting them as an input to reverse engineer a creative brief, translate it into a target culture after intensive research of what the target culture differences are to the US market, and then creating new campaigns, not just images, creating entirely new positionings based on that for the target markets.
It's pretty amazing.
It is, sure is. And I think, Mary, that brings us to the point where we said this is not just about doing things automatically, because this is really not what we should be doing, right? This is about empowering our creatives, the people who have probably been seeing the dam as the most uninspiring thing in the entire world, that they surely wouldn't want to work with, right? And you can create a beautiful interface for your dam as much as you like if you did that, but if the content in there, first of all, cannot be found, and then second of all, it is not really integrated into my process, and I have to still download it and use it and to in order to use it, and it's still not really a creative tool. Well, here's how you move forward and how you put the power of this into the hands of the creatives. So let's say you selected one of these inspirational assets from the agentic ideation that we just demonstrated to you. It's a, sort of your reference image. It might already be in the right direction. Maybe the tonality is there, but you want to modify that. So there's a number of advanced AI tools, and as Mary said, with Vertesia we are totally model agnostic. We can connect you to Imagen, that's one of our standards, but also Nova. But of course, if you need it, we can go with Adobe Firefly, or we could go with a Flux. It really comes down to what your needs are to integrate this into your process or into your suite of tools that you want to make available to the people in your organization. So there are many of these advanced AI tools, and there's more and more standards coming out. One of them is expanded fill, for example, where you can uh, fill in details that don't exist in the image. Take a portrait one and turn it into a landscape. Basically, fill in information in the image that's not there. It's like generative for images. Or remove the background entirely, right? Have only the object, the element, the person, the car, isolate that. What we want to show you today is what's called in-painting. In-painting really means that you have a paintbrush and you just, for in our example here, you would paint some inside the image that you have. You want a tree there. You give the idea, you take the idea, but you give the power of the creative direction really to the person who's working with this. And in painting would then take my brush and turn it into an actual tree. And the amazing thing here is it's not just taking somewhere a tree from a library and puts it in there. It understands perspective. It understands the context of the entire scenery. As you can see here, this tree has snow, right, on it. It is the right perspective. It is the right mood. It is the right coloring. So these tools are extremely powerful. And again, once you do that and you're working with this, you can integrate this into any part of your ecosystem, of your workflow, your DAM, your CMS, your creative suite. And we believe that really these agentic workflows, combined with giving the power back to the people to not just reiterate, but really get ideas and take them and then decide for the direction, this is really providing or delivering the value that was promised for dance for so long. And this is what we wanted to show you today, because when we figured out how this can work, we got super excited and want to share this with you.
Definitely, definitely. And I think it goes without saying that, again, Stefan and I are both relatively new to Vertesia, and to be able to kind of take this agentic ideation workflow and make it real and make it reality, and how quickly it does these things, it is really, really impressive. Um, so we have tons of time for any questions or comments, feedback. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so that I can actually see the questions and see
And
Stefan.
we do have 2 questions already that came in via the chat, but we're here open to any other questions. So maybe start with David. Wondering if this presentation will be available as a download, and if he can show it to his colleagues.
Yes, totally. Um, we will make sure you'll get an email follow-up of the actual recording, and then we'll also link out to the slides. Yes.
Claire would like to know if it's one agent to do it all, or should it be multiple specialists? That's a really good question. So while in this demo here, it was just one agent that we built, agents can actually create they can evoke a number of sub-agents. We call this an agent swarm at Vertesia. So while one agent can be sort of the controlling one, it can, in order to break down, especially tasks where you have thousands of documents that need to be analyzed, it can break it down into a number of sub-agents, and then these sub-agents will create that. You can also create manually workflows if we want to, and design the workflows 1, 2, 3, 4, and branch off in certain directions. You can also do that. But the power of autonomous agents is exactly that. It doesn't have to be one agent. It can be one agent that's managing and orchestrating a whole swarm of other agents. That's what we're working on.
Yes, and you can create as many agents as you want or need. And Vertesia itself is a platform, right? So we have this DAM specific AI capabilities, but we have customers who use us for grant proposals, scoring, and review. We have customers who use us for code generation and product documentation. So the capabilities of the Vertesia platform, you could build it, or you could buy it and deploy it for the DAM use case. And then in 6 months, you could use it in your sales team, your finance team. So it's really that kind of enterprise scale, forward looking approach.
Mary, Michael would like to know if Vertesia is a DAM or only an AI add-on to other DAMs.
It's an interesting question. The majority of our customers have a DAM, and so they are using us as integrated into their pre-existing DAM. But it's not something that we're going to say no, like we're not a DAM. It would just, I think, depend, Michael, on your specific use case. We've also had customers who might be looking to leave their current DAM, and so exploring solutions. So it's something that we'd love to talk to you about. If you want to reach out.
I mean, we come from the DAM background, right? We are the
Mm-hmm.
guys who built the Nuxio platform. Let's be honest. So we have all the expertise on how to handle that. So we can fully integrate with existing DAMs, but also we have DAM capabilities that are, of course, part of what you've seen today, right? These are object related capabilities that come from the DAM world originally, but we're open to integrate with anything that you have in mind or that you want to migrate from or to. Usage rights. Oh, this is one of my favorite things because I've been working on this for a long time in my life. So there's definitely a lot of potential in creating agentic usage rights, not just for maybe keeping track of usage rights, but also for identifying usage rights in terms of facial recognition, music recognition. We talk about music, photography, stock, talent, where I see huge potentials for doing that. we have many ideas around this, but if you have a specific use case, please reach out to us. I would be ecstatic to work with you on this, because it's really one of the real value pieces that many people underestimate. How much a copyright infringement case can cost the client hundreds of thousands per case for not being able to track usage rights. Same thing, just like we talked about creative briefs and stuff like that, where the dam doesn't give it. I believe that agentic systems can help us with managing usage rights, which so far marry the same thing. You have to manually type in who is this person in the picture, when does the contract expire, where in which media types can I use this, is this good for France, can I use it in the Netherlands in 2 years from now? So there's so many components with this, and at Nuxio we are experts, or at Vertesia we are experts, and I believe we can totally help you with that. Thank you, David. David likes this, says it's impressive.
Elise
I'm sorry.
said, oh yeah, how does Vertesia work with the dam? How do they communicate to one another? A very good question.
Oh, REST API. So Vertesia is an API first platform. So your dam will also have APIs. So you will very easily use our low-code interface to build your agents, and then we will have a connector, typically via REST API, to connect to your dam, do queries against your database, write things, update metadata, index things as we need to. So that's Elise really wondering how Vertesia would work with a dam. So they communicate via API. So they're independent solutions that work integrated with each other. Maria, we don't have a dam system in place, but we have 20 plus years of marketing content. Yeah, that's a really interesting case, Maria. So you don't have a dam, but you have a lot of your content on a Google Drive, as we understand. I'm not sure we have Google Drive yet, but we can create such an integration, because to us it's just another connector, as we call it. So if you would like to learn more, or we can dive deeper into that, please reach out to us. That would be a really interesting case to understand how we can help you with Google Drive. But it's totally possible, not a problem at all. Oh, there's a lot of questions. Wow.
Yeah. Michael asks, with the generative AI images, does it generate low-res concepts, which then you need to recreate yourself, or does it provide full resolution images with layers in the case of text and multiple combined images? That is a good question. I don't know I don't know the answer to that, Stefan, about full res.
Yes. I mean, in the end, these are objects, right? Everything in the dam is an object. So we are non-destructive. We will leave the original document untouched, right? The same is true for any document. It's not just for the videos or documents or images or audio files. We create iterations of that. And really differentiating between the two, well, there will be, once you modify it, there will be a difference, but of course every object has its own ID, and then also advanced tools such as semantic search based on RAG will allow us to differentiate to the pixel how documents are different, especially when you want to do re-indexing of an existing database that is connected. We would identify every object in there and then only get the offsets, only get the deltas in, so we wouldn't re-index the entire repository. That would be not make too much sense. So we have advanced techniques to deal with that. Okay, what's next? Oh no, we're plowing through it here.
Yeah.
Give us a second.
Patty asks, do we have other agent use cases? We have a ton of agent use cases. So again, past DAM, thinking of enterprise-wide, we have customers across all industries leveraging our agents for doing things like document analysis, document generation, spreadsheet manipulation, code generation. And then when it comes to the DAM, in terms of agent-specific use cases, we do have more than what we showed. honestly, the world is your oyster. We're a very flexible, composable platform. So when it comes to building and deploying agents and agentic workflows, it's really what your company is trying to solve and what would make life better and simpler.
Exactly. So we're flexible with creating things just to make your use case work. So another question we see here comes from John. If we upload the zip file into your DAM, would Vertesia be able to read what's in the zip file and provide a manifest? Absolutely. I'm not sure whether we're doing it right now, but we can build a zip reader, a connector that will read zip files and extract the information, and then index and do the rec and all of that stuff. So I'm pretty sure we will find a solution for that. If that is your case. Which DAM systems do you have pre-built in? So we have a number of connectors, of course, per case when our customers come to us and want to connect. So one I'm very sure about, we're connecting into Nuxio, of course. But as I said, we're an open platform API first. So whatever is REST API, we can connect to and probably build that out rather quickly because we're experts in API integrations. How should data be structured prepared for agent training using Vertesia? I love this question. So this is the entire thing why we showed you our advanced data preprocessing. In many cases, people would have maybe they already have an agentic platform and maybe it already can do rec, but that rec system, that embedding technically will only cut the document into pieces, page by page, or maybe by a number of paragraphs. And that's then the chunking that's so important for enabling the LLM to search inside a content database that is in the repository. So with Vertesia, we are making the structure. We are looking at every document that you upload. We are inferring a logical structure behind that. We are also creating specific metadata structure, a properties, so to speak, just like metadata. We are inferring what kind of metadata should we index in order to create an index for this particular document. We also have the idea of document or schema templates that you can create. So every time you upload a certain kind of document, we will make sure that we analyze the document following a particular schema that you want us to do. But as our default mode, it's really you throw any document at us, and we will figure out the best way to structure and format and abstract the data and pre-process it for the indexing. That's one of the superpowers of Vertesia that I personally haven't seen anywhere before. So we have 6 more minutes. Looking at the clock.
We are winding down on the questions too.
There's another good question, Mary. I think yeah, this one is good. Would customers work in Vertesia or in the DAM to use your agents? That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Both, Mary, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we believe that you should be free in what you want to do. If you want to come and work in Vertesia, you can use our interface to work with the agents. But again, we're API first platform. So if you want to integrate agents directly into your existing DAM user interface, you can do that. If you want to create maybe a beautiful interface for a specific client of yours, you can do that and make Vertesia and your existing DAM both work into that new user interface. So we are completely independent. And it really comes down to what you want to do. So if you want to integrate with your existing DAM, maybe make an extension to the way that your user interface works, then we're surely open to that, no problem. Integrate via API. If you would like us to create an environment for you where, I don't know, we create dashboards for your document analysis, we create a DAM view for your purposes. We can talk about anything that you would like to do. Again, we come from the DAM world and we understand how to do both.
Yep.
So I'm just going through the questions. It's really, some of them I hope we've already covered. Some of them are repeating. Can you show some example of how it helps with metadata? I think this is what I was referring to earlier. So the metadata standard, the way that you would either try to just tag things, it helps you to find things based on keywords. Now, with the expanded, as I just explained, the schema that we are inferring as we ingest documents, we understand the content of the document really. We understand the structure. We infer a schema, a logical thread through your documents. And this is how it really helps with identifying metadata that needs to be created. So that can be prescriptive based on a template that you want to define, or our autonomous agents will understand the document, the nature of the document, and create that metadata generation by itself, plus the additional dimensions of the meaningful embeddings that REC does.
Excellent. Well, I think we got to all the questions. I was looking at them. We would love to show you more. We wanted to share, we have a white paper, and we have more, a few more demos and examples on our website, but we'd love to show you in a personalized demo. So we talk all things DAM all day long in generative AI. So
Yeah, we would really love to learn your use cases and really help us and help you understand how we can solve your issues around dams, how all this integrates. These are amazing questions. So really grateful for the insights. Also, the poll was really insightful, understanding how far you have already come with integrating AI into your dams. So whatever you have, our doors are here. Our doors are open. Just come talk to us. We're happy to help with whatever you got.
yes.
Thank you, Mary and Stefan. I think we can wrap up today. That was a fantastic presentation. And a big thank you to our audience for joining us today as well. We will send the recording tomorrow so you can rewatch today's session at your own pace. And if you'd like to deepen your DAM knowledge, be sure to explore our upcoming webinars and events on the Henry Stewart website. Thanks again for joining us today, and goodbye.
Bye.